Another former player to coach, DeSean Jackson, takes over at Delaware State. Delaware State's obviously won 2 games in the last 2 years, so this is going to be a rebuild situation for Coach Jackson. But initially, what are your thoughts of DeSean Jackson taking this job? Go ahead.
I would, again, first-year guy. I love it. I love the spark. Now, I truly want to know how serious he is about it. I understand that he good job, baby. I understand that he's been coaching high school since he stopped playing. But again, the hours are different. He's walking into a way tougher situation than Coach Vic, where he's at up in Delaware. Off top, I just, I probably worry more about him than I do Coach Vic, just because of the situation he's walking into up there in Delaware. I don't know if you saw his press conference, his initial press conference when he got off the plane and got to school, how much snow was standing out there. He's a California guy. So I gotta think that his stronghold in recruiting is gonna be California. How many of those guys are gonna fly clear across the country into that snow to play for Coach Jackson? You know what I mean? So how long is he in it for?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that we're going to discuss that, him being from California and that being a recruiting tactic, because he brought in a signing class and he brought in a couple cats from California. And I'm going to ask you about that in a second. But, initially starting on DeSean Jackson transitioning from high school coaching to coaching at HBCU, similar to Deion Sanders, obviously prime coach's sons in Texas, but he moved up to Jackson. Same way here. But I'm going to show a video. DeSean went on the Breakfast Club and talked about the story of how he decided to get into coaching college football. Take a listen.
State, actually, a good friend of mine hit me, and he was like, bro, you want to coach college football? I'm like, college football? Like, I just played 15 years in the league. You know how my time and just everything in my path, I'm like, I'm chilling, feet kicked up. I'm at the house. I ain't working because, it's a lot. A lot of people don't understand the hard work that goes into being a professional athlete. So when I got the call, I'm like, college football? I'm like, I'm having a heck of a time right now coaching high school. College, that time is crazy. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do it. Literally like an hour later, I got another call from Coach Clark, who's like a big brother mentor to me. And he was like, bro, you interested in coaching college? I'm like, hold on, what the hell is going on? It's getting crazy now. I was like, man, ain't you in school? Because he's a teacher. I'm like, ain't you in school? I said, man, call me back later and we'll talk about it. So I sat back and thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to consider it. And literally less than 48 hours, I'm on a flight going to Delaware. So they actually inquired on me and reached out through a few mutual, guys I knew. And it was like, man, I had to go take this opportunity, man. I said I couldn't pass on it. If it's something I really want to do, and obviously it's changing young kids' lives, I was like, man, I ain't going to pass on this one.
Now, I know Kevin Hart,
Man, Coach, what were your thoughts on those comments? I'm curious to hear from you. Go ahead.
Man, that's like the third time I've watched that, and I have the same initial thought, and you tell me if this is where you are with it. Like, he really didn't want to do it. Like,
yeah, that is something that comes. That is definitely gives that a look for sure.
Yeah, he really didn't want to do it, and now my thing is when he realizes that he's got to give up his month of July, because that's when you've got to get ready for your camp. You bring those kids in the summer. I'm assuming that's what he's going to do. Let me put it that way. I'm assuming. I don't know what he's going to do. But we bring our kids in July, and we have our kids in July, and we're getting ready for camp in August. But you've got to be there. You have the month of June off, but you got to be there in July. And, coach figures out a way to give, everybody a couple of days so you don't completely get burned out in July before you get to August camp. But when he realizes that, when there's the big NFL game on Sunday, and really he shouldn't be going, but is he going to go and leave it to his assistants to handle stuff on Sunday? He comes back on Monday. It's a 360 from high school to college, and it's definitely even more of a twist when you're talking about coming from. He was at a pretty nice high school in California to a situation like Delaware. Now, maybe he's got some people that's going to put some money in it to make it more enjoyable, which I'm sure he is. But just the time factor, man, I just worry about it more with him, so to speak, than Vic.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think Delaware State's program is definitely more of a rebuild situation. Vic going into Norfolk, and you mentioned money coming into Delaware State. I gotta show this because I was going to say this to the end, but you brought it up. DeSean went on Pac-Man Jones' podcast, and he was talking about NIL deals. And Pac-Man says, I don't even know if this is legal, but he says if Delaware State wins 7 games, he'll donate $100,000 to their NIL. Take a listen to this.
Any NIL deal.
Yeah, it's the Pac-Man Jones NIL deal. We're going to get the Pac-Man to donate and put some money. Yeah, we got some NIL money coming.
If y'all win more than 7.5 games.
7.5. Hey, you got to think. Hold on. Keep it in mind.
How many games y'all play?
2 games in the past 2 years.
That got nothing to do
They
with
only
me.
won 2 games in the past 2 years.
If I'm up there and you up there, we better win 6 to 5 to 6, 7 games.
All right, there you go.
Tall task, nonetheless. Coach Fred, I just had to show that because you brought it up. But something we talked about earlier, recruiting from the state of California. This is a kid who coming from the state of California named Jaden Robinson, receiver. And obviously, he says committing to play for Coach DeSean Jackson. Now, I think this is a big recruiting tactic. I mean, big enough because DeSean's from the state of California. State of California is huge, a lot of talent there. Do you see that? And you mentioned that it might be tough. Do you think that DeSean can get some kids from California headed all the way to Delaware?
Yeah, you know what, baby? I mean, getting them to go there is not going to be the issue. Getting them to stay there is going to be the issue. You know what I mean? Getting him to stay there is going to be the issue that he's going to face. Good job, Cole. That's going to be the issue, getting those kids to stay there. You know, and I've never been there. Let's get that out there. But it's a different world from California. You know, so getting them to stay is going to be the task. And then getting him, I guess, to understand the type of kid. And I'll tell you, I've been in coaching for a while. Recruiting a California kid is way different than recruiting a kid from Florida, Georgia, you know, Alabama. California kids are a little different. So, you know, I'm sure he knows how to handle them because he is a California kid himself.
Why do you say that? I'm curious.
They are a little different in the sense that I'm not saying all of them, the ones I've dealt with.
Yes.
They're not as tough-minded, so to speak, as those kids from Florida, Georgia, Alabama, you know, the Carolinas. You know, they're not as tough-minded. And then, you know, Lord forbid if that kid comes from the city, so to speak. You know, getting a kid out of LA, man, you got to be at a Power 5 type thing because if you get a kid out of LA and you bring him to rural Mississippi, it's only a matter of time before he starts to thinking about what he left out in Laos, you know, out in LA, and wanting to get back to it.
It's,
you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I never really understood. I was out there over the weekend. It's beautiful out there. I get it. I hear you. But yeah, that's an interesting point you make there, Coach Fred. I would have never really thought that, but that's a great point. Especially, you got to recruit kids to the state of Mississippi. DeSean's got to recruit them all the way. It's tough, man. Yeah.
How many colleges are you flying over?
Right.
From California to go to Delaware. You know.
Yeah.
What I mean? And you have to take all those things into account. And then, you know, for both of them, you know, this will be their first time actually recruiting. And it's different. It's a different world now. We always talk about it. It's not the same, like you said earlier. It's not the same as writing letters, phone calls, visits at high schools, visits at the home. It's a way different game now. So again, they have the backing. If he gets to 7 games, Pac-Man told him what he'll do. Maybe he has some of that stuff on the front end to where he can get, you know, deals for certain kids and hope, you know, entice them to stay there at Delaware State. So it's going to be a tough rebuild. 2 games in 2 years. If he wins 3, they should probably put a statue up of him. If he wins 4, they should probably name the stadium after him.
Hitting the stadium.
If he wins 6, it should be his town. You know what I mean?
Oh shit! If he wins 7.5, he'll get that giant Pac-Man Jones NIL deal. But man, I got yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna just read a couple quotes from several prominent figures in coaching. This is from Coach Sean McVay talking about DeSean Jackson. He said, "I could talk about this guy talking about DeSean Jackson all day, but the short of it is that you get a high character leader of men, a student of the game, and an authentic passion that will inspire new supporters to Delaware State University football." Another one from Coach Andy Reid. He says, "I cannot be more supportive of his desire to coach Division I football and would stake my career on his success at Delaware State University. I cannot wait to see where he takes the university and when the university takes him. This is a win-win for everyone, particularly the young men that get to learn from him and the incredible staff he will assemble." Man, just wanted to show that, kind of discuss that, and show just the praise for prominent figures in coaching on DeSean Jackson at Delaware State. And this is something, Coach Fred, and that's why I brought you on. This is something that isn't covered much. And from my personal opinion, I'm not seeing a lot of noise going to this versus 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Deanna Jackson. I don't hear as much noise about this. Well, I'm definitely interested to see what DeSean does at Delaware State.
Yeah, no 60-minute coverage, no very little, maybe 30-minute segment when it all happened on ESPN. So, yeah, like you said, it's levels to it. And, both of those guys had great careers, no doubt about it. They played at the highest of highs. But, again, this coaching thing is totally different. It doesn't matter what Vic knows. It doesn't matter. Coach Vic doesn't matter what Coach Jackson knows. It's what they can get those kids to know and understand, and how they get, their culture, how quick do they put their culture fix on those programs. So that's going to be the key thing there. And I can't harp on it enough. That's going to be a tough fix up there in Delaware, man.
That is going to be a tough fix, a rebuild nonetheless. And we'll cover this in depth all offseason leading up to the season. But, Coach, great breakdown, great perspective on DeSean Jackson and Michael Vick.